My mom criticized me as a stupid child at Christmas, so I told her how much I had been financially supporting the family. The room went dead silent. I should have known how this Christmas would go the second I walked through the door. Mom was already in her element, holding court in the dining room with extended family gathered around like she was hosting some kind of award ceremony. My sister Victoria sat at her right hand, fresh off closing some big consulting deal in Manhattan. Her designer blazer probably cost more than my rent. My brother David was on the other side, talking loudly about his new director title at some tech startup nobody had heard of 6 months ago. And then there was me, still working at the same marketing agency I'd been at for 5 years, still driving my paid-off Honda, still living in my modest apartment across town. Mom was making her rounds, introducing relatives to her children's accomplishments like she was running a talent showcase. This is Victoria, just made junior partner at her firm, only 29 and already earning 6 figures. And David here just got promoted to director of operations. They're talking about going public next year. I was setting out dessert plates in the kitchen when I heard her voice carry through the doorway. And Emma here is still doing that little marketing thing downtown. You know, making flyers and managing social media. Bless her heart, some people just aren't built for real success like their siblings. The conversation in the dining room continued without missing a beat. A few sympathetic nods in my direction. My Aunt Lisa gave me that sad smile people reserve for distant relatives who never quite launched. I walked into the dining room holding a stack of dessert plates. 23 people were crammed around the extended table. Cousins I barely knew. My grandmother at the head. Everyone comfortable and full from the meal I'd helped cook that morning while Victoria was getting her nails done and David was sleeping off his hangover. I set down the plates carefully and pulled out my phone. Actually, Mom, speaking of success, I've been meaning to talk to you about something. She looked annoyed at the interruption. Emma, we're having a conversation. Can it wait? No, I don't think it can. I opened my banking app and turned the screen toward the table. My hands weren't even shaking. I felt completely calm. These are the automatic transfers I've been sending you and Dad every month for the past 4 years. The table went quiet. Someone's fork clinked against a plate. $1,500 on the first of every month for your mortgage payment. Because Dad's business wasn't bringing in enough after the lawsuit. Another $1,000 on the 15th for his medical bills from the surgery. The insurance you said covered everything but somehow never did. Mom's face started losing color. Dad set down his wine glass. I scrolled through my transaction history. Everyone at the table was staring now. Here's the $8,000 I sent last March when the roof was leaking and you said you couldn't afford the repairs. The $1,200 I sent in June for Victoria's car insurance when her policy lapsed. The $3,000 I wired in September when David needed to cover his security deposit because his credit was shot. My brother's face went from confident to pale in about 5 seconds. Victoria was looking down at her plate. My grandmother leaned forward. Emma, is this true? I kept scrolling. 4 years of transactions. Every emergency. Every crisis. Every time they called me crying about money while simultaneously telling everyone I was the failure. Here's my favorite, I said, pulling up a text thread with Mom. This is from last week. Mom asking me if I could send an extra $500 for Christmas gifts because they were short this month. Right before she spent today telling everyone how I'm not built for success. My Aunt Lisa covered her mouth. My Uncle Frank was shaking his head. And you're absolutely right, Mom. I'm not built for real success. I'm built for quietly keeping this family afloat while working my meaningless little marketing job. The one that apparently isn't a real career but somehow pays enough to cover your mortgage, Dad's medical bills, and both of my siblings' emergencies whenever they call. I grabbed my coat from the back of my chair. The entire room was frozen. I looked directly at my mother, who couldn't meet my eyes. Total amount I've sent you over the last 4 years? $63,000, and every single automatic transfer stops tonight. I walked out while they were still sitting in silence.